Kunja Bihari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayarata Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Pichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Pichana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Madanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Shodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Tiravanachari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Shodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brachachana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Yamuna Tiravanachari Tiravanachari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayorata Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivraj Kacharya Sutta Sattashunde A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Iskam Bibri Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Satya Goswami Prabhu ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki. Jai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Yes, Sri Prabhupada. Können wir vielleicht die Türe zumachen? Jemand da hinten? Vielen Dank. Sorry. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, most welcome to this first day of the Narasimha Chaturdasi festival, and this is the first seminar. Every day there will be seminars at 11 o'clock, so this is the first one, like starting. And I have prepared a little, it's a very simple seminar. The title is Purification of the Heart, 5 Prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. And basically we'll just discuss 5 prayers written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And most probably some of you, or most of you already know these prayers, because in this book they also have been published, these 5 prayers. And personally I like these prayers very much, and I also recite them every day in the morning when I worship my Shaligram Shila, Nrsimha Shila. Then I also recite these prayers at the end. And I think it's very wonderful and powerful prayers. And therefore I thought it might be a nice idea to just try to deepen our understanding of these prayers, try to hear about the deeper meaning, so that next time we offer these prayers we can connect on a more deeper level, right? So these prayers, we will just read them, are composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur doesn't require much introduction. He's a very important Vaishnava Acharya in our line, the father of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur especially basically re-established Gaudiya Vaishnavaism in India. And he also wrote many books, and especially also songs. Bhaktivinoda Thakur compiled hundreds of songs. There's 4 main songbooks, the Gita Mali, Gita Vali, Sharanagati and Kalyana Kalpataru. These are songbooks that has many songs and many prayers. The particular prayer that we will speak about today is not from a songbook, but it's from the Sri Navadvip Bhava Taranga. And that's a little book with 168 Bengali verses. And these shlokas describe the various transcendental places in the 9 islands of Navadvip. It's basically a book that glorifies the holy Dham of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Sri Dham Mayapur. So this book describes different holy places. And at the conclusion of this text, Thakur Bhaktivinoda reveals his own spiritual form. He, in the spiritual world, he's Kamala Manjari. So he reveals that in that scripture. And then also identifies himself as a humble follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course, during his lifetime. And the 5 prayers of to the Lord Nrsimhadev are part of this book, Sri Navadvip Bhava Taranga. And we will see the prayers speak about Navadvip, they speak about Gauranga Mahaprabhu, because it's part of that book. And the beautiful thing with these prayers, they basically, they are meant to receive the mercy of Lord Nrsimhadev, and these prayers are certainly an assurance to all sincere devotees of the Lord to make sure that the worship of Lord Nrsimhadev is in the line of Radha Krishna worship. Because sometimes devotees or people in general, they ask, but you're worshipping Radha Krishna, no? The highest ultimate goal is Goloka Vrindavan. You want to attain love for the divine couple, but now you worship Nrsimhadev, maybe you end up in Vaikuntha, if you like to go to Nrsimha Loka or something, why do you worship Nrsimhadev? So this doubt can arise. But this song beautifully describes how actually we worship Lord Nrsimhadev, but for a specific reason, so that Nrsimhadev may protect us and help us to get rid of all the obstacles on the path towards Shri Radha and Krishna. So Nrsimhadev is not different from Krishna, but Krishna has taken this form, as we know, specifically to protect his devotees and specifically to destroy Hiranyakashipu, or in general the demoniac influences. And therefore this prayers is meant for the sadhaka to ask Lord Nrsimhadev for blessings to remove the anarthas from the heart. And that's what will be the main part of this presentation. We look at different anarthas, different obstacles that we may face in our hearts, and how Nrsimhadev can help us to remove them. So let's start. There is 5 prayers. We started the first one. And this is Bengali, so please excuse me if I don't have the proper pronouncement. I try my best. And I will sing them in a traditional tune. I will sing the first line or the first 2 lines, and if you like, you can try to follow. And then I do the second, and you can follow again, and then at the end we sing Hare Krishna. Then everyone can join in for sure. Okay, so it goes like this. Edushtarudeya kama atirupa chaya kutinati pratishtasa satya sadarayam. Edushtarudeya kama atirupa chaya kutinati pratishtasa satya sadarayam. Hridaya sodana ara Krishnera vasana Nrsimha charane mora eito kamana. Hridaya sodana ara Krishnera vasana Nrsimha charane mora eito kamana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here we have the translation. In this wicked heart, the 6 enemies, lust, anger, and so forth, as well as fault-finding, desire for prestige, and deceit, always remain. My prayer at the feet of Nrsimha is that my heart will be purified and my desire will be only for Krishna. So that's the first prayer. And when we look at the Vaishnava culture, there is always different forms of prayer. So that's certainly a prayer that falls in the category of dhanya, which is humility. In a humble state of mind, here Bhaktivinoda Thakur, of course, taking the position of a conditioned soul, saying that in this wicked heart, in my heart, there is these 6 enemies. There is the tendency to find fault in others. There is a desire for prestige. So in this way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur takes a very humble position and opens his heart to the Lord, reveals his heart, and he prays that his heart might be purified. And the only desire which should remain is the desire to please Krishna. So I think that's a very appropriate prayer, isn't it? For all of us. At least for myself, I can speak. I feel this is a very good prayer to recite daily. Dushta Hridheya, this wicked heart, Kama Adi Rupa, there is lust is there. Adi with the other Ripus. Ripus are the enemies. And there is Kutinati, Pratishta. Kutinati means deceit or this fault-finding tendency. Pratishta is the desire for prestige. And then the prayer is that Hridhaya Sudhana, the heart should be purified. And Krishna Revasana, the only desire, Mora Eto Kamana, should be only for Krishna. So now, looking at these prayers, I like to focus on a couple of things. I like to speak about the 6 enemies, about fault finding, and about prestige and deceit. Just looking at these obstacles so that we understand them a bit better. So let's start with the 6 enemies. 6 enemies are described in different places as the enemies of the soul or the enemies of the mind, however you take it. And there is the book of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, the Srimana Shiksha, which very nicely describes also the attack of the 6 enemies. And we like to have a look at this description of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. So there it says, this is from text 5. The Mana Shiksha is a book. Mana means the mind and Shiksha means the instruction to the mind. It has 12 shlokas, and this is text 5. While here on the revealed path of devotion, I have been attacked by the gang of my own lust, etc., who have bound my neck with the troublesome, dreadful ropes of wicked deeds. I am being killed. Crying out piteously like this to the devotees of Sri Krishna, the destroyer of Baka, O mind, they will save you from these enemies. So basically we have a description here that there is a shining path of devotion, and we are all on that path, all devotees, practicing devotee sadhakas, we are on the path of devotion. And it's a shining path, it's a very glorious path, a very wonderful path. But then there is the enemies coming. And these enemies are compared to a gang of dacoits, robbers. They wait till someone crosses the path and they attack. And they have ropes by which they bind us, and these ropes actually are wicked deeds. That our sinful activities are compared to the ropes by which they bind us. And what's the solution? We should cry out for the help of the devotees. And by the devotees' mercy, we can overcome these 6 enemies. So that's basically the essence of this shloka. So here we have a picture. This is from the book published by Mother Urmila, and she kindly allowed me to use the slides, the pictures. So we see the shining path of devotion, and then there's 6 personalities here. They have ropes, they have swords and arrows waiting to attack the conditioned souls. So the 6 enemies of the soul are described as Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. All right. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, pride, sometimes also described as madness, and envy. And all of them are very dangerous, and they bring a lot of trouble to the conditioned soul. And that's the gang, the 6 enemies which are there. In Bhagavad Gita we also find description of how the different enemies attack us. Dhayato vishayang pungsam sangasteja pujayate sanga sanjayate kama kamat krodha pijayate. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises. So first comes the contemplation, one sees some object that one desires, then lust develops, and from lust comes anger. Krodha bhavati samoha, samoha smriti viprama. Then from anger complete delusion arises, and from delusion the bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. This is how Krishna describes sequence of how, we will talk about this a bit more, how these 6 enemies, the relationship between these 6. This is an illustration we find in early copies of the Bhagavad Gita. This is a new version of a drawing of this, but it, the classic example of attraction between men and women is here taken as a strong form of lusty desire. The man is attracted to a woman and then engages with the woman, but then the woman has a lover, and then there's a fight between the men about in order to get the woman, and in this way contemplation of the sense enjoyment leads to attachment, lust, anger, bewilderment of memory, loss of intelligence, and material bondage. That's just an example which is given. Now, so this is the 6 highway robbers. Here we have some portrait pictures of them. May I introduce you? Anger, envy, greed. Of course, greed has a little bigger belly because he's very greedy. And then we also have illusion, lust, and madness. So there's a description on how these the relationship. This gang of thieves has been friends with us over a long time, so much so that generally we have almost become member of that gang. Like, the thing is, we identify so much with our mind that we are not anymore discriminating between myself and the mind. And the mind is very close with these enemies. It goes so far as in Bhaktivedanta Goswami makes the point that it is as if the soul is actually sleeping. The soul is sleeping in a dormant state and has given attorney, like empowerment to the mind. Okay, you run the show. And that was not a very good decision because our mind can be our greatest enemy, right? So that mind is connected with the 6 enemies. And we hardly, we identify, we always became part of this. So karma is also a huge burst of energy. So once karma appears, there's a very strong urge in our body, in our senses. So karma basically, let's start with karma. Where is karma? Yeah, lust. When we see something we desire, and then and it's described, Prabhupada explains that actually when the soul has pure love of God, but when the soul comes in contact with the material energy, then that original love is turned into lust. Prabhupada says, as if milk in touch with tamarind or acid turns into yogurt, so the original love turns into lust when we come into this world, because we identify with the body. No, we are pleasure seeking, we want to have pleasure, but then because we think I'm the body, then I think I have to get pleasure through the body. And then this is how lust appears. Can we close the door there? Thank you. So when there is lust, then we have a strong desire to fulfill our desires. And if we are able to fulfill our desires, what happens? What comes next? Let's say I can fulfill my desire. Then as next comes greed. Yes, it's not so easy to guess, because once I get it, I like it so much, I want more and more and more. So greed is coming. And what happens if I don't get it? Anger, frustration. Then krodha is coming. And what happens if someone else gets what I like? Envy comes into the picture, right? So in this way, they are all connected. And of course, if I become too angry and too greedy, then I lose my intelligence, as described before. Then I fall into illusion, and madness is there. And then I lose control and fall deeper into material existence. So how will one be saved? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that we should call out for the Vaishnavas. And the Vaishnavas, they are like a police force. These are dacoits, thieves, and the devotees are like police. They can protect us. So therefore we should call out for help. So here we see some devotees, they are captured by the ropes, by these thieves. And it's described that these ropes are actually made by the sinful activities, because driven by lust and anger and greed, we start to act in a sinful way, and then the sinful reaction, they bind us to the material world. So that's why we are bound up by the ropes. But then we should call out to the devotees of Krishna, and Krishna is described here as the killer of the personification of hypocrisy, Bakasura. We know the story in Krishna book. There was this Bakasura who came in this form of a, how you say, heroine in English, you say? A duck, or, yeah. And then Krishna basically, very simply, just split off the two. The, how is it, how you call it in English? The peak? Just, no, rip apart. And so we should call out for the devotees of that killer of Bakasura. Why Bakasura? Because Bakasura, a heroine, looks like a yogi meditating, but then as soon as a fish passes by, then immediately the heroine catches the fish and eats it. So although the heroine looks like a yogi, actually always meditating about the fish. So in that way, he's a hypocrite. And the devotee may look very pure, putting tilak and kantimala, Hare Krishna, looks very pure, but actually inside his heart there is lust, there is greed, there is anger, and in this way he's a hypocrite. That's why we should call out for the devotees, for the Vaishnavas, those who are free from lust, anger, and greed, and they can help us to also become free from these 6 enemies. That's the significance. So once we call out for help, then these, just like ordinary thieves, if the police comes, then they run away, because they know the police is more powerful and they can punish them, so they run away. So we call out for help, then actually these 6 enemies will go. So that's, and what does it mean in practice? What would you say? What does it mean to call out? Help, help, the Vaishnavas. What did you say? I do not, Prabhu. You gave a lecture yesterday evening about it. Revealing. Yeah, like having loving exchange, and especially having revealing one's heart. Like if you realize there's so much lust in my heart, I'm not able to control my anger. I'm envious of my friends. What to do? And I should call out for the devotees, and I should ask them. I should reveal my heart. I should cultivate these friendships with the devotees, and that's how we can overcome these enemies. So the teaching of the great devotees can free us from the ropes of the wicked deeds. That's another thing, associating with the devotees, hearing from the devotees. And then the association, and we will talk more about this at a later point. The mind or the consciousness is like a crystal stone. Whatever you put in front of the crystal stone will be reflected. So if you put something nasty, then something nasty is there. But if you put something beautiful will be reflected. So if you're in the association with devotees, then that consciousness of the Vaishnavas will be reflected in your heart also. So the problem here is of this text 5 in the Manashiksha, the wicked deeds fueled by lust and anger. And the solution is to cry for help from the devotees of the killer of Baka. Here we have some powerful devotees, Narada Muni, Arjun, Bhishma. They can help us. And of course, the devotees in our community also. We may not have Bhishma next to us, but we have some senior devotees, they can help us. Okay, that's one point, the 6 enemies. Another problem that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning is fault finding. Do you sometimes find fault in others? Yes? Why do we do that actually? Any idea? Why do we? The mind is very good in finding faults in others. Usually it's always, I mean, if you be a little bit introspective, you will see that basically every day we find some faults with some people. Oh, why? Look at her, the way she dressed. Look at him, how he's chanting. There is always, the mind always finds something like, belittle. Sorry? Somehow we feel better, yes, because the ego always tells us, you're number one, you're the best, I'm the best. That's the ego. The false ego tells us always, I'm the best. So in order to be the best, But the reality is we are not the best. That's the reality. There's many other devotees who are far more advanced and better than us. But then, because we can't tolerate that, then we have to pull them down, somehow. So in order to feel better, we have to pull them down. And that's a mentality that the false ego is always there in the mind. But all the Vaishnavacharyas, they advise us we should give up that fault-finding tendency. There is an analogy of the needle and the thief. The thief comes to the needle and tells the needle, "Hey, you got a hole there. You got a hole there." And the needle says, "Well, you have so many, but you have a hole there." That's kind of the mentality. Although we are full of mistakes, still we're always pointing out the faults of others. So that's a mentality which we should try to give up. There is a story of a wolf and the lamb. Lamb, you say lamb? Ein Schaf oder so. Sheep or ein Lamm, yeah. So there was a lamb or a sheep, small sheep, and then drinking water at the river, and then a wolf came and was complaining, "Hey, don't you see? You pollute the water. I'm drinking and you're drinking. So by your mouth you're polluting the water that I'm drinking here." And the lamb says, "Dear sir," very humble, "how is it possible that I pollute the water? You drink water upstream, and I'm downstream. How is it that how is it that I pollute your water?" And then the wolf said, "Somehow I have to find some fault. I want to kill and eat it." So he said, "Why did you 1 year ago you spoke like ill names to me? You blasphemed me 1 year ago." And then the lamb says, "But well, I'm only 3 months old. How is it that I spoke bad to you? Nevertheless, I will eat you anyway." So that's the story. And that shows the mentality. Somehow or other we try to find fault in others. So that's a tendency which Bhaktivinoda Thakur addresses, and he prays to Lord Nrsimhadev, "Nrsimhadev, please remove this tendency. This is very nasty, it's not nice." And we know the example of the fly. Where does the fly goes? Always where there is some dirty things. And then the honeybee always goes where there is the nectar. So as devotees, we should try to become honeybees, see the good in others. And if we want to see fault, that's very good, but then we should see it in our own selves. Yes, we are allowed to see faults, that's good, but then we should see it with us. There we can be expert. We can see all the faults, no problem. But with others, and then there is the guru, there is a spiritual master, because others, yes, the others have also fault, but it's not our business to point them out and to correct them. For this we have the spiritual master, senior devotees, they can do it. If I have an issue, I can approach some of my seniors and they can deal with it, but it's not my business. My business is to see my own faults. Okay, that's the fault finding that you have to give up. Then hypocrisy is another one, which means basically claiming to have moral standards to which one's action do not conform. We claim to be a devotee doing something very nice, but actually in the back we're doing many nonsense. So that's hypocrisy. And Raghunath Das Goswami and Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary, the Bhajana Darpan, analyzes this point in very detail and gives examples and makes an analogy with a donkey urine. It's quite a graphic picture which is given here. Donkey urine. This text 6 from Manashiksha. "O ruffian mind, why do you burn yourself and me, the soul, by bathing in the trickling urine of the great donkey of full-blown hypocrisy and duplicity? Instead, you should always bathe in the ocean of love, emanating from the lotus feet of Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari, thereby delighting yourself and me." So there's two kinds of showers. One shower is the divine ocean of love, and the other shower is burning donkey urine. Which one do you like? You can choose. I don't know about you, but I certainly like to take the shower of divine love, isn't it? But what the conditioned soul does is usually we take the bath of the Donkey urine. Why donkey urine? That's interesting. Well, to begin with, it's not cow urine, okay? Cow urine is purifying, actually. Like, of course, in the Western culture, we don't understand. I remember once we went to India with a group of people. They were quite new to Krishna consciousness. I introduced them to holy places in India. So we went to one Goshala, and the local brahmachari showed us the cows. And then one cow was passing urine, and that brahmachari took his hand, filled his hand palms full of urine, and then throw it over all the devotees. And he was calling, Go Mata Ki Jai. And you saw the faces of some of the devotees like, cow urine, what he's doing? Not knowing the culture, because cow urine is very purifying, it's very auspicious, and it's used in religious ceremonies. The deities, like next Wednesday when we celebrate Narasimha Chaturdasi, the Supreme Lord in this form of Lord Nrsimhadev will be bathed with cow urine, So it's very purifying and sacred. But here, Raghunath Das Goswami speaks of donkey urine. And donkey urine, the donkey is not held in very high esteem. Donkey is kind of the symbol of stupidity. It's an ass. It's like a stupid, foolish animal. And then also, according to Ayurveda or to some Shastric injunction, is described that actually the donkey urine is it's burning. It's acid. It kind of, if you have it on your skin, it has a burning sensation. So it's not very pleasant. And this donkey urine stands for hypocrisy. That means we show our face in some way, but actually behind the scene we pretend, we do something else. Now, those devotees who have defeated the 6 enemies headed by lust may still be burned by the donkey urine of hypocrisy and deceit. So in the back we see the enemies, they are killed, but then the donkey is coming. So now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains 3 different kind of devotees. The first one is Swanishta Sadhaka, and this is the devotee only try to please Krishna without the need for Varnashram Dharma. So that means that's a devotee who is doing full-time devotional service. These devotees don't have a job or go out for working, or they're full-time dedicated, like full-time devotees, like they're staying in a community, serving full-time devotees. So we see Radha and Krishna directly give all their needs they need, and they see themselves as devotees who purely want to please Krishna. So what is and now Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives example of hypocrisy of such devotees. If they're not pure, of course if they're pure-hearted then that's not the case, but if they're not yet fully pure, the following can happen. A Swanishta devotee may exhibit hypocrisy by seeking sense enjoyment instead of pleasing the Lord, serving rich materialists instead of Vaishnavas, desiring to accumulate wealth and opulence, or engage in twisted logic. So we have these 4 pictures here. Okay, I cook for Radha and Krishna a nice feast, but actually I cook for myself. I cook such a nice offering for Krishna. I'm such a nice devotee, but actually I'm looking for when can I eat the samosa, and the rasgulla, and the halwa. It's for my pleasure. So that's kind of pretense. Of course, it's a very subtle form of anartha. Or I'm a preacher, but I preach mainly to the rich people. I reach the rich people because I hope to get some donation from them. Or although I'm a devotee and I say that I'm very simple and renounced, I'm hankering for luxury items. Or I get involved in logic, although we have so much Bhakti Shastri, but I'm interested in other knowledge that is not conducive to devotion. So these are ways how one can cheat. Then there is the Pranishta Sadhaka, which is a devotee who is following strictly Varnashram, is engaged in Varnashram and is very pakka. And there is 2 ways given here. We see here on the left side you see the Radha Krishna and a book strict Varnashram. So when he goes to the temple, he is very strict. Mataji, cover your head, Prabhu, like he's telling others how to be a strict follower of Vedic culture. But then at home, he watches Netflix and eats potato chips. You know, like there's a double standard. You know, like in the temple, very paka, but at home, you know, like doing all kind of nonsense. So that's one way which he cheats. Another way is he's more interested in associating with non-devotees. And this picture shows the jnani, the karmi, and the yogi. And the devotee in the back, you know, doesn't feel so welcome because the devotee is more interested in the jnani, in the yogi, and in the bhogi, or the karmi. You know. So basically not claiming to be a devotee, but not actually having deep Vaishnava friendships, but associating with many other people. And not having deep friendship with Vaishnavas. So that also can be a kind of pretense. But yeah, here is also the nirpeksha sadhaka, which is the renounced. So now we spoke about the grihasthas, but also the brahmacharis and the sannyasis, they can also pretend. And there is more. I'm not going through all of them, but a few I will show here. The first one you see, that the sannyasi in front of the mirror there, and the donkey passes urine on his head. Now, I'm such a great Vaishnava. I'm so advanced. You know, I'm a sannyasi. I'm advanced. And that's a pretense, because if you're a sannyasi, you're meant to be spiritually advanced. Means you're very humble. That's why you're a sannyasi, because you're humble. But then if you in your heart you develop the desire, can they see I'm so advanced? Then that's cheating. And then I see myself superior. You see on this picture, he walks like I'm better than everyone else because I'm a sannyasi, or for that matter, a brahmachari, a renounced. You know. I've been a brahmachari for 20 plus years. You know. I'm better than everyone else. Or what else we have here? I'm an advanced, acting superior, collecting more than required. You know, like collecting, yes, give me donation, more donation that he actually needs, and associating improperly with the opposite sex in the name of preaching. You know, there's Sunday program, and all of a sudden all the brahmacharis become very enthusiastic for preaching to the young ladies. I have seen that, you know, in our temple. All of a sudden, very enthusiastic. Every Sunday with the same lady preaching to them. So these are some ways that, and of course it's very subtle, but one should be careful to, you know, become honest and sincere in one's practice. So that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur also is praying. This picture shows, you know, Gora Arti Kirtan singing. The donkey is passing urine on the heads. Why? In the front you see a little box. And what is in the box inside? This is very interesting. In the box are the hearts of the devotees. That means practicing spiritual life without involving your heart is also a kind of pretense. You're just doing externally. So we are meant to perform devotional service involving our hearts and emotions. So deceit and pretense are the problem, and the solution here is humility. Immersion in the bath of love for Radha and Krishna. We should develop attachment to Radha and Krishna and should take a very humble position and cultivate humility. And by humility we may be able to recognize our own mistakes and our pretense. Okay, and the last one, I know we're just with the first shloka, the first prayer, but that's the last one for this section. Pratishtha, desire for prestige. We have a Hollywood star here. Everyone wants to be a star. That's how it is, you know. And a desire to be recognized. And here another very graphic analogy, and I'll make it short. This is text 7. As long as the unchaste dog-eaten woman of desire for prestige dances in my heart, how can a chaste and pure lady of love for Krishna touch it? Therefore, O mind, you should always serve the incomparable beloved devotee, commander of Krishna's army, who will immediately throw out the unchaste woman and establish a pure lady of love in the heart. So another, I like how Raghunath Goswami uses many pictures, you know, and analogies to illustrate these very subtle and deeper things. So we have in our hearts, there is actually the pratishtha, or the fame and to become famous, prestige, is compared as a dead dog. No, a hot dog in the real sense. Like the flesh of a dog. It's very, who would want to eat the dog? We don't eat flesh anyway because we are vegetarians, but I speak of a dog flesh. So it's very abominable. And then inside the heart there is this prostitute, an unchaste woman, and she is very eager to eat that flesh. And that desire to eat, that's the desire for pratishta. So next time when you recognize a desire in your heart, oh, can they see how great I am? They should all glorify me. Then that's actually, it's like the desire to eat a dog. It's abominable. And as long as this unchaste woman dances in the heart, in the back you see the ladies, these are chaste ladies of love of God. And love of God wants to enter the heart, but as long as these unchaste ladies there, they are not interested to come. And how to overcome, not only that lady also has a boyfriend. And who is the boyfriend? The boyfriend is illicit lover, is deceit, cheating. And we spoke before about cheating, and you can see the root cause. Why do we pretend? Why do I want to be seen as very advanced? I'm a very advanced devotee, or I'm very like this and that. We see the masks there on the tree. And the root is that we see some trophies there, the desire for being honored is the root. And then if this desire is there, then we want to pretend and we want to be seen as something better than we actually are. So what should we do? We should, all different kind of devotees, they should take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. And here, before it says the Vaishnavas, with the 6 enemies, the Vaishnavas, but here we should call out the commander-in-chief. We should take shelter of a very advanced devotee. And then Krishna himself will help and remove this unchaste woman from the heart. And then pure love of God can enter in our hearts. So what is significant here is that instead of trying to become a famous devotees ourselves, we should serve the famous devotees. No, instead of trying to become very prestigious ourselves, we should serve those who are honored by others. And by humble service to these great devotees, then we can remove that desire for prestige from our own heart. And then the chaste woman of spiritual love can enter. So the problem were lust and anger, the 6 enemies, and the solution was help of the devotees. Pretense was another problem, the solution is humility, and desire for fame was a problem, and the service to very exalted devotees is the solution here. And of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur offering prayer to Lord Nrsingadev that he might be freed from these enemies, from this fault-finding, from this pretense and pratishta, and that the heart becomes pure. That was the first prayer. Okay, if you have questions, maybe you can write them down so we can will not take too much long, we'll go a little faster to the last. So that was the first prayer. So now we come to the second prayer. Kandiya Nrisinga pade magibe kahana nirapade navadvipe yugala bhajana. Kandiya Nrisinga pade magibe kahana nirpada navadvipe yugala bhajana. Paya 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 yandra darshane se hari prasana hoi bekabe moradaya kari. Paya 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 yandra darshane se hari prasana hoi bekabe moradaya kari. Oh, when will I cry at the feet of Nrsinga and pray that I may serve the divine couple in Navadvip without disturbance? When will the Lord, seeing whom fear becomes fearful, be pleased and bless me? So that's the next prayer. So a question, when will I cry? And when will the Lord be pleased? That's basically the question. When will I cry? And pray that I may serve the divine couple. So again, the prayer to Nrsingadev is the request to serve Radha Krishna. That it hints towards Radha and Krishna. But the point that I would like to take out from this shloka or highlight from this prayer is crying for Krishna. Because that is a very essential practice of devotion. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there is a shloka which says that Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga Krana, that Bhakti Yoga means to chant the name of Krishna, to call out for Krishna, to cry for Krishna, and that is Bhakti Yoga, which is the greatest wealth for everyone. So Bhakti Yoga means to cry for Krishna. That's what Bhakti means. And Srila Prabhupada also used to make this point about, this is from the purport of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. These three words, namely Hara, Krishna and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Mahamantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and His energy to give protection to the conditioned soul. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother's presence. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the Lord's Father's grace, and the Lord reveals Himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. So it's exactly like a cry, genuine cry of a child. But then the question is, how often do we chant the Mahamantra in that mood, right? The other day, our, what is his name? Vishwavasu Prabhu gave class. He made the point that we should chant with emotions. He said, we are not Buddhists, like Buddhists have these mantras, it sounds like this. Sometimes devotees chanting, but actually it should be feelingly. Of course we can't just, maybe they have feelings, but it's at least sounds not so. But the point is that we should chant with feeling. And then with a desire to attain Krishna. That's the importance. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he became famous by saying that he has opened a crying school in Bhubaneswar, in Orissa. He opened a crying school, he said, the temple that he started. And he says, do you cry for Krishna? Who have cried, they have gotten. That's the principle. Those who have cried for Krishna, they have gotten Krishna. And that means those who have not cried for Krishna, they have not gotten Krishna. So the question is, are you crying? And that's kind of a question we have to ask ourselves. How much desire? Prabhupada also explains this is in the Nectar of Devotion. Lowliam, the strong desire, greed, actually is the only price that we have to pay to go back home, back to Godhead. That's the ticket to go back to the spiritual world, which is lowliam, the intense desire. But again, the focus is here on the intense. There must be a strong. If there is no strong desire, then why should we go to Krishna? That means we have so many other desires. Advaita Acharya is a very nice example. What did Advaita Acharya do? He was crying for the Lord's appearance. And in this way, he is a very, very wonderful example of someone crying for the Lord. It is described that Sri Advaita Acharya would enthusiastically worship Krishna with Tulasi Manjari and Ganges water. And Bhaktisiddhanta explains in the purport, Tulasi dhala matrina, chalasya kulu kena va. This is shloka from the Hari Bhakti Vilas, and there it says, it's quoted there, it's from the Gautamya Tantra, originally. Sri Krishna, who is very affectionate towards his devotees, sells himself to the devotee who offers merely a tulsi leaf and a palmful of water. And that's quite powerful. Krishna sells himself. Krishna, who is the supreme controller, powerful Lord, he basically becomes purchased by whom? By someone who simply offers a little tulsi leaf and Ganges water and worships him with love and devotion. So Advaita Acharya, he felt so compassion for the conditioned soul that he felt people are suffering in this age of Kali. I want to call the Lord. Lord Krishna should appear and help these conditioned souls. And I will make the Lord appear, and I will offer Tulsi and Ganges, and I will cry. Hunkara kareya Krishna avashera teja Edvani Brahmanda Bedi Vaikunteta Bacha Ye Premara Hunkara Shunina Krishna Nata Bhaktivasa Apaneya Hoila Shakshata. So he loudly called for Krishna in great spiritual ecstasy. The sound vibration pierced the covering of the universe and was heard in the Vaikuntha planets. So his cry for Krishna was so powerful that it penetrated the coverings of the universe. And Krishna heard it in Vaikuntha. On hearing Advaita Prabhu's cries of love, Lord Krishna personally appeared, for he is controlled by the love of his devotees. So this is a very beautiful example. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays to Lord Nrsimhadev, "Oh, when will I cry? When will I cry at the feet of Nrsimha, that I may serve the divine couple?" So that's what we can learn from text 2. Okay, then prayer 3. Yadyapi Bhishane Murti Dushta Chiva Prati Praladadi Krishna Bhakta Jane Badri Ati Yadyapi Bhishana Murti Dushta Chiva Prati Praladadi Krishna Bhakta Jane Badra Ati Kabeva Prasanna Hoye Sakripa Vachane Nirbhaya Karibe Ei Muda Akinchane Kabeva Prasanna Hoye Sakripa Vachane Nirbhaya Karibe Ei Muda Akinchane. Although he is terrifying for the sinful soul, he is very gentle with devotees like Prahlad. When will he be pleased and make this poor, foolish soul fearless with his compassionate words? So, Bhishana Murti Dushta Jiva Prati, the Yadayapi Bhishana. Those who are sinful, for them, Dushta Murti, this Murti is very fearsome. Like those who are sinful people, if they see Nrsimhadev, like Hiranyakashipu, they become very fearful. But the same Lord is very Prahladi Krishna Bhakta. To Prahlad and Adi, all the other Bhaktas of Krishna, for them he is very gentle. So when will that Lord make this foolish soul like myself fearless with the compassionate word? When will I become fearless? And that's why I like to highlight here the point of fearlessness. Because in the material world, we're always full of anxiety, isn't it? Prabhupada says that like a little bird is picking some grains, but always looking like this, isn't it? Always. And we are also like that. Always there is some anxiety. What happened in the past, what will happen in the future. There's always some anxiety. That's why the spiritual world is called Vaikuntha, a place without anxiety. But this world is Kunta, it's the place full of anxiety. So I'd like to talk a bit about this, how to become fearless. What would you say? How do we become fearless? Or by Charanaravinda. No. By taking shelter of the Lord, right? Anxiety, how does fear arise? And the Bhagavatam describes this in the 11th canto. Bhayam dvitiya biniveshatashyat ishat apatesha viparyayo smriti tat mayayato buddha apayetam bhaktyayika yesham gurudeva tatma. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When a living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as the servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is effected by the potency for illusion called Maya. And so, bhayam dvitiya binevi sheta. That means fear arises when we turn ourselves away from Krishna. As long as we face Krishna, as long as we look to Lord Nrsimhadev, to Vishnu, Krishna, then we are protected. We feel strength because we know Krishna will protect us. But then when we turn away from Krishna, We forget that we are a spiritual soul, that we are eternal, we identify with the body, we think we are temporary. Well, no surprise that we've become full of anxiety. No, the body is temporary, the body will perish. So naturally you become afraid because you think, I am the body. So that's the reason. So, and in this material world, as long we forget Krishna, then of course, as the Bhagavatam says, padam padam yat vipadam, there is danger at every step. And this world is really a dangerous place. Any moment you can, after this class you may walk down the stairs, you can fall off the stairs and break your bones, and for the rest of your life you sit in a wheelchair. It can happen, padam padam yat vipadam. It's a very, very dangerous place. So how does one become fearless? Just like a little child, a small boy, when he is near his father, he knows he has nothing to worry. And similarly, if we are with the Lord, then there is no fear. We know we are protected. So that's why we have to, again, connect with the Lord. And of course, the emotion of fear has also something positive. It's not any emotion wants to tell us something, right? Emotion is like anger. If you're angry, the emotion tells us something is wrong here. There needs to be a change. Unless, of course, there is anger because our desire is not fulfilled, then it's anger. That kind of anger we should get rid of. But sometimes we can also become disturbed because we see something is wrong. Or fear, the natural instance of when emotion of fear comes in our body, it's basically a wake-up call, which makes us alert. Oh, I have to be careful now. And that's, from nature, a good instinct, Like if you have to, for many people, when they make surveys, what is the most fearful thing? What you are most afraid? Of course, number one is death, right? We are afraid of death because we don't know what happened. But in some surveys, number one even, or at least number two, is public speaking. To speak in front of many people. People are very much, like, oh, what should I say? But and then, even the artists, before a show, if they're standing behind the stage, and then they become nervous, But that's actually, it's normal because there is like in some ways, again, it's a wake-up call. Okay, now you have to concentrate yourself. You have to be focused. So that kind of fear, in a way, is normal or natural. But that fear, which is not good, is the fear when it's just some anxiety for the future, which actually are not there. If we are speculating about something, we are afraid about something, it may come, may not come. That kind of fear is only the mind who tricks us. That fear, which is, And of course, fear can also be helpful, like Prabhupada said, that there is only one problem with my Western disciples. They're not sufficiently afraid of Maya. So for a devotee, fear can also be good. In a sense, I'm afraid of Maya, that's why I have to take shelter of Krishna. But when I take shelter of Krishna, I become fearless. And that's the prayer. Nrsimhadev, please, when will I cry? When will you make me fearless? Prabhupada also offering prayers to always be under the shelter of the Supreme Lord, and we should follow his example. So I'll just conclude. There is two more, prayer 4 and 5. I'll just go through it if you like. You can join. Svachanda Baisho He Vatsa Shri Gauranga Damaya Yuga Labhajana Ha Arutaya Name Mama Bhakta Kripa Bale Vignaya Pedura Sudachita Bajorada Krishna Rasa Pura. Svachanda Vatsa Shri Gauranga. Oh child. So now Nrsimhadev is speaking, no? Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when will the Lord speak these words? And I like this very much in this prayer, because now we hear Nrsimhadev speaking. And what is Nrsimhadev saying? He says, oh child. Now we are all like children of the Lord. Oh child. And now he gives blessings. May you serve the divine couple. So the Lord gives us the blessing that we may engage in the service and have attachment to their names. And we can, that much Bengali we know. Rati hau name, right? Rati means attachment. Nama is the name. Yugala Bhajan, you are engaged in serving Bhajan of the divine couple. And then Mama Bhakta Kripa, by my devotees, Kripa, mercy, Vigna, Dura. Dura means obstacles and Vigna means destroyed. By the mercy of my devotees, all the obstacles will be destroyed. They will leave you. With a pure heart, serve Radha and Krishna, who are a reservoir of nectar. Krishna Rasa Pura. So that's the kind of blessings that we hope the Lord will speak one day to us, right? And what I like to highlight here is that by the mercy of the devotees, obstacle will leave us. It's the kripa of the Vaishnavas. So the power of sadhu sangha, and of course this can be a seminar in itself. We can say so much, but by the association of devotees, we can gain so much strength. We can get so much inspiration and strength. And it's interesting, in the previous shlokas, just a moment, it's a little fresh. In the previous shlokas, we saw that the 6 enemies, we can overcome the 6 enemies by calling for the help of the Vaishnavas. We can overcome the desire for pratishta by the help of the Vaishnavas. And one question could come, why do we not call for Krishna? Why does Raghunath Goswami says, if you have problems, you should call out for the Vaishnavas? Why can't we not say, I call for Krishna? And the point is that actually the Vaishnavas, in some sense, the Vaishnavas are more powerful than Krishna. How is that? How is that the Vaishnavas are more powerful than Krishna? And Bhaktivigyan Goswami explains this. He says that Vishnu Chakra Thakur actually explains it. The Vaishnavas are stronger than Krishna. And Vishnu Chakra Thakur gives a powerful explanation. Quoting the 3rd shlok in the 3rd canto, there is there's 2 kind of unwanted association. One is association with women, or the opposite sex, we can say, like the association. If we are too closely associated with the opposite sex, then there is always this, energy of sense enjoyment, and this can bind us. And then the other association is with men who are too much attached to women, like lusty men who always think about sense enjoyment, or the other way around, the women who think of men. So which of the 2 is more dangerous? Direct association with the opposite sex, or to associate with someone who always thinks about sense gratification? The second one. Vishnu Chakra Thakur says the second one. And why is that so? When we associate with a woman, we might or might not get attached, depending on whether she's beautiful or not, maybe. Or the other way around with men also. But when we associate with a man who is attached to a woman, we begin to feel his taste. He has a taste. And that taste we'll adopt that taste. This taste is so strong that we will inevitably get attached. When we associate with those who are attached to sex, the basic thing, it is very difficult to stand firm because we think, why am I wasting my time? Others are enjoying. I also want to enjoy it. That comes, Similarly, Vishnu Chakra Thakur says, therefore association with Krishna is not so important, for association with Krishna may or may not give you taste. No, if you stand in front of the deity, it's very nice. You have direct association with Krishna. But you may develop a taste for the worship of the Lord or not. The taste they have, association with Vaishnava who have taste will impart that taste to us, because we feel that taste reflected in our consciousness. The taste they have will make us contemptuously regard of all temptation of the material world. Those who associated with Srila Prabhupada felt that liberating or cleansing association. They felt how being near him, they were getting free from the passions that used to torment them before. Therefore, the only way to protect ourselves from degradation is call out to the Vaishnavas. Because in the association of the Vaishnavas, we get the taste, that higher taste. Because as we said, association is powerful, it acts like a crystal stone. Whatever is what we put in front of the crystal stone, it's reflected. So this is beautifully described. spiritual potency flows from the heart of a great devotee into one's heart. There is a transaction of spiritual Shakti. And then, so we take shelter of these great devotees. Like embracing Vaishnavas is very purifying. Of course, embracing ladies with the ladies and men with the men. Okay, but it's nice, if you see each other, you embrace each other, you touch the body of a Vaishnava. That's very powerful, actually. Then it says that the food dust of devotees is purifying. And we get the dust of the Vaishnavas. So sometimes we see some shoes, and we can try to get some dust out of the shoes. And then also here, child Narada received the mercy just by accepting the remnants of the foodstuff of the Vaishnavas. That is very potent. Actually, these things, it's Narottama Das, is it Narottama Das, I believe? Not sure. It's described in a song that these three, the dust, the remnants, and the bathing water. Here we have the bathing water. Lord Krishna himself, washes the feet of the brahmanas and puts that water on his head. These three can give us pure love of God because they're very powerful. So in this way, by the power of the Vaishnavas, all the obstacles will leave us. Lord Nrsimhadev blesses. And then the last prayer, and with this we will complete our little session here. Ei bolika bemura mashtaka upara sviya shri charana harshe daribe ishvara amani yugala preme satvika vikare daraya lutibo ami shri nrsingadvare. When will the Lord say this and delightedly place his feet on my head? Immediately out of love for the divine couple, I will roll on the earth at the door of Sri Nrsimha in divine ecstasy. Imagine Lord Nrsimhadev places his feet. On the altar we see Lord Nrsimhadev's feet, we can see his feet. So imagine, he places his feet on your head and speaks these words of blessings. When this happens, then immediately Nrsingadvara, I think the son of Govindadev, no? Prabhu, his name is Nrsingadvara. So at the doorstep of Nrsimha's temple, there is a temple of Nrsingadev, at the door of Nrsingadev, I will roll on the ground in Prema Sattvika Vikare. It's interesting, Prema Sattvika Vikare means at the stage of bhava, one will experience all kind of ecstatic symptoms. And they are described as 8 symptoms: becoming stunned, perspiring, standing of the hairs on the body, flattering of the voice, trembling of the body, changing bodily colors, shedding tears, and devastation. These are all symptoms of ecstasy. Now, and of course we saw these symptoms in Srila Prabhupada, although usually a Vaishnava is very careful to not show these symptoms in public, because it's a very intimate experience if you have such loving feelings for the Lord, and that you don't want to make a show out of it. But there is several instances where Srila Prabhupada singing Jai Radha Madhava, and then just getting stuck with the singing, just tears coming from his eyes, and he just voice choked up, and Prabhupada just getting up from the Vyasasana and just leaving. And at that day, there's no class. Or another time, there was an arrival address. Prabhupada speaks how he was just traveling in Mexico and this place and that place, and how this temple is such a nice temple, and how there is Gaur-Nitai in the altar. And he starts to speak about the glories of Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai. And by speaking about how merciful Gaur-Nitai is, Prabhupada just starts to weep. And his voice again chokes up. And I just, the address is stopped. But this ecstatic symptom that's described here, also standing the hairs on end and crying. The problem with these, they can be imitated. Some people can imitate, and in India we find there is these Sahajiyas who No, they come to the temple, then they roll on the ground, oh, Krishna, Krishna, and then afterwards you see them outside of the street smoking a bindi, a cigarette, you know. So what kind of ecstasy was that? You know, like one moment they show ecstatic love for God, and the next moment they're after sense gratification. So it can be cheated. But in the Nectar of Devotion, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami describes 9 symptoms of bhava which cannot be so easily imitated. And these are the followers. Someone who actually has loving devotion for Krishna, he's always anxious to utilize his time in devotional service of the Lord. He wants service always 24 hours a day without deviation. Can you imitate that? He wants service always. He always wants to serve. That's a very strong desire to always serve. He's always reserved and preservant. It means in even difficult circumstances he's very tolerant. He's always detached from material attraction. He does not long for any material respect in return for his activities. He's always certain that Krishna will bestow his mercy upon him. He's always very eager to serve the Lord faithfully. He's very much attached to the chanting of the holy name. He's eager to describe the transcendental qualities. And he's very pleased to live in a holy dham. So he's always, he always wants to serve. That means he doesn't want to waste any time. And that's a very, it's a symptom of a Vaishnava who is very sincere. He doesn't want to just waste time spending hours on TikTok or Facebook and just doing nothing really. No, he always is very careful that time is very precious, like Janaka Pandit says. Even a second cannot be paid back with millions of gold coins. 1 second which is gone is gone. You can never get it back. So time is very valuable. And we only have limited time. So let's do the best at time. He's always preservant. Here the example is given. Parikshit Maharaj, he was told that he was cursed. He will be bitten by a snake within 7 days. But he was very sober. He sat down at the banks of the Ganges and just listened to Srimad Bhagavatam, even in midst of great difficulties, remaining tolerant. He's always detached from sense gratification. The picture of, the example is given Bharat. Of course, in this picture we see Bharat in the forest, and there Bharat Maharaj got attached to the deer. So in that sense, he's not a good example. But the fact that he left his kingdom is a good example. He left his kingdom without looking back. And the Bhagavatam gives a very graphic picture. The Bhagavatam says, he left his kingdom, his wealth, his position, his wife and children, his family, his honor, everything. He left it just like you pass stool. That example is given. Like whenever you go to the bathroom and you push the how is it, flush? Have you ever thought, oh my God, I lost something? You never think like that, right? You flush, it's gone. You never look back. You don't think I lost something. You just like back. And he was so detached. He left his family. He left his kingdom in that renounced mood. It's a very graphic example. I'm sorry, but that's the Bhagavatam. Of course, later on he became again attached, which was not a good example. But yeah, being detached from the material attraction is a symptom of bhava. Then he's not looking for respect. Prabhupada gives the example of Lal Babu, who was a great landlord in Calcutta, and then he became a beggar in Vrindavan. And he opened a temple. We can still visit it, Lal Babu temple. But he went door to door, begging even from his political enemies. So he took a very humble position, not seeking respect. And hope against hope, that's the Ashabhanda. One who has bhava, he always has hope. Although I'm very low, I don't have any qualification, but still there is the hope to get Krishna's mercy. And one is very eager, we spoke about that, samutkanta, complete eagerness. This is, everything has some value, and one has to pay the value before obtaining or possessing it. It is stated in Vedic literature that to purchase the most valuable thing, Krishna conscious, one has to develop intense eagerness to achieve success. And the example here is Bilva Mangala Thakur. Of course, it's a separate story how he was very eager to see Krishna. He was very heavy with himself. He plugged out his eyes and was blind, going to Vrindavan. And Krishna finally showed mercy and took him at a hand and brought him. So by his eagerness, by his sincerity, he attained Krishna. And then this attachment to the holy name. Srimad Radharani, the associates of Radharani, one Manjari says, O Lord Govinda, the girl who is the daughter of King Vrishabhanu is now shedding tears, and she is anxiously chanting your holy name, Krishna, Krishna. So that's the mood, we should chant Krishna, Krishna. In that mood of separation, attachment, then one should be always very eager to glorify the transcendental qualities. So the idea of Krishna's beautiful activities is attracting my heart, and I do not know what I can do. One should become mad to hear about Krishna. One should become mad to speak about Krishna. That's a symptom also of bhava. And then last, one becomes very attached. In this place of the son Maharaj Nanda, who was the king of all coward men, in this place Lord Krishna broke the cart in which the Sakata Shura demon was concealed. So in this way one always meditates about the different pastime places of Krishna and is very eager to live in a holy dham. So these were the 5 prayers of Lord Nrsingadev, to Lord Nrsingadev by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Just go through it one more time so we remember. In this wicked heart, the 6 enemies, lust, anger, and so forth, as well fault-finding, desire for prestige and deceit, always remain. My prayer at the feet of Nrsinga is that my heart will be purified, and my desire will be only for Krishna. That was the first prayer. That prayer to become relieved from these enemies. Then when will I cry at the feet of Nrsinga and pray? When will the Lord bless me? That was the second prayer. And we spoke about the importance of crying. And the third, although he's terrifying for the sinful soul, he's very gentle with the devotees. So when will he be pleased and make this poor foolish soul fearless? So we spoke about fear and how to become fearless by taking the shelter of the Lord. And the fourth prayer was about how the Lord speaks, gives blessings, that we serve the divine couple and develop Rati Nama, attachment to the holy names, and by the mercy of my devotees, obstacle will leave you. We spoke about the power of Vaishnava Sangha. With a pure heart, then I will serve Radha and Krishna. And then the last prayer was that when the Lord will say this and delightedly place his feet on my head, then I, out of love, I will roll on the ground in divine ecstasy. And divine ecstasy shows, manifests in trembling of the body and tears. But as we said, the more permanent symptoms are these symptoms that we just described, which someone in bhava actually will manifest. So in this way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave us these beautiful prayers, and you can find them in this book, which is available just outside, a little advertisement. If you don't have it, please get a copy, and there you find this prayer also, amongst many other wonderful prayers. So I think it's very nice a nice practice to daily offer some prayers to Lord Nrsingadev. And in this way, seeking the blessings and hopefully getting purified, because the purification of the heart, the title of this little seminar, that's what we all strive for. We want to purify our heart. That's the journey. Spiritual life means transformation of the heart. It means changing our desires from lust into love, unconditioned, pure love. So we should pray for that. And Lord Nrsingadev is a wonderful Ishtadev for us who can help us to remove. Like with his sharp nails, he destroyed Hiranyakashipu. So similarly, he can destroy our demonic qualities from the heart. That's the prayer. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Let me see whether some of you have some comments, critique, question. Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for joining. To accept, yeah. Yes, but because you have so much love for your parents, that simply the thought that they will die makes you feel very sad, overwhelmed with how to handle what will happen when they leave one day. Well, that's for this we have to hear Shastra, and we have to hear from sadhus. We have to the process of listening is very important here, because when we listen again and again, it's described. I mean, Krishna says in Gita, with the material world is compared to a reflection of a banyan tree, and Krishna says, with the sharp sword or axe of transcendental knowledge, we have to cut off that banyan tree. So we have to cut off our illusory attachments to this world through transcendental knowledge. So if you become a little more sober, where we understand, yes, I have loving affection, I have a relationship and attachment, but the reality is such that I will lose. This relationship will end, and that's just reality. That's just how it is. So that's one thing we can try to develop, this kind of detachment or soberness with transcendental knowledge. And of course, spiritual knowledge also helps us, that even if our beloved ones die, the transcendental knowledge can help us to understand that they are actually not die. Like, they live forever, and they actually most probably doing much better afterwards, because maybe they go back to Vaikuntha or Krishna Loka. So it's only our selfish desire to have their company which makes us feel sad. But for them, I mean, there is nothing to lament about them. So that's something comes to my mind. But then fear of death. Some people say, I don't have fear of death, but they have fear of the process of dying. Because to experience disease, old age, and then going maybe through a process of several months or even years of pain and suffering, that can be very scary, to go through this. Because death in itself, if you have some spiritual knowledge, you know what comes after death. Actually, death does not exist. Sachinanda Maharaj, years back, he gave this seminar, death, in the Vedic understanding, death does not exist. It's just for the body, and then if you know this, basically, you lose the fear of death because you know it doesn't exist. But then the process of becoming old and suffering, that's painful. Yeah, some thoughts on that. Yeah. Welcome. Any other thoughts, reflections on some of these topics we discussed? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Just loud and clear. Louder. Nichts als eine? Yeah, Prabhupada, life is just like an illusion. It's the destiny which, is the main force behind everything. Prabhupada used to say that, coming to this world, he called it's a nonsensical stage performance. Like if you go on a stage, you play a role, and then you go back. That's basically what we're doing. Life after life after life, we're getting a material body, then we take a role, we play a role, and then we identify. And why is it nonsensical? Because we are identifying with it. Like now, in next Wednesday, we will have Narasimha Chaturdasi. There will be drama. Someone will play Narasimha. Wow. Someone will play Hiranyakashipu. If the guy after the drama still, thinks he's Hiranyakashipu, we got a problem. He got the problem. But that's what we are doing. That's exactly what we are doing. We are identifying with the role that we are not. And that's why Prabhupada says this is a nonsensical stage performance. We have to give up that wrong identification. Get a bigger picture, understand that we are actually meant to be servants of Krishna. And that's the reality. And then the more we take shelter of Krishna, the more we identify as servant of Krishna, the more we lose our fears, the more we lose our detachments, because we see Krishna in the center. And Krishna that makes us, come close to Krishna and gives us then strength and conviction. Yes. Anything else? Or? Yes.
I always wonder, we hear here and there that we should be serving Krishna 24 hours.
Yes.
We do have our bodily limits.
Yes.
We need to rest. So how can we serve Krishna?
24 hours. A very good question. Yeah, this was also mentioned that we should serve 24 hours. Well, we can see in the life of those who have actually attained, of course, on our level, at least on my level, I can say, this will be difficult because at least 6 hours I need to sleep. That 6 hours sleeping is already there. And if I have less, I become, you don't want to be around me. Then you become like a little aggressive and nervous if you don't have enough sleep. And then the other 18 hours, we need to take a shower and go to the bathroom, and we had to eat something. So it's not so much. Then something is left for service. But how can we say 24 hours? But in a life of a pure devotee, because the consciousness is always with Krishna, and they never for even a second forget Krishna, and whatever they do it for Krishna. Everything becomes service to Krishna, and therefore it will be 24 hours. No, whether they eat, they only eat to maintain the body so they can serve more for Krishna. Whatever they do is always for the pleasure of Krishna. And even if they sleep, actually they don't sleep as others sleep. It's interesting. Once I heard, and one of my teachers told me that, why do we need to sleep? Actually, the physical body does not require so much sleep. It is more the subtle body. It's specifically the mind that needs a break. It's the false ego. Because during the day you have to cope with so many things all the time, and then at least at some point you want to have a break. But if you have given up your false ego, if you're free from false ego, you don't need sleep. And then you can see with people like the Goswamis, people, great Vaishnavas like the Goswamis, Srila Prabhupada, they didn't sleep much. And even if they're unconscious, they're still thinking of Krishna. There is an example of Srila Prabhupada was in a unconscious state, in a hospital unconscious state, and the doctors were reporting that Prabhupada would reciting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Same thing with Srila Gaur Govindam Raj, which is one of my Shiksha gurus, although I never met him personally. But I just feel inspired by his teachings, and it's described in his lifetime also. He had an operation, and he was reciting from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, Gopi Gita, while he was in anesthesia. And his disciple Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, who happened to be my Shiksha Guru, who just passed away a couple of weeks ago, he was also in a hospital, also unconscious, and he was giving class in English and Oriya, speaking about Pratishta, the topic that we mentioned. So that means these Vaishnavas, they are so deeply absorbed in Krishna Katha, even if they're unconscious, on a subtle level, they just continue with Krishna Katha, with chanting the holy name. And in this way, they are engaged 24 hours in Krishna service. But yeah, that's a very high level. We are, at least myself, not yet there. But we can aspire to do more and more for Krishna. Because at the end of the day, the more service we do, the more blissful and happy we will become. That's the secret. All right, I think then this is a good point to end. Thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki, Sri Prahlad Nrsimha Bhagavan ki, Daiva Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha, Patitam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavi.